Hello everyone, I hope all of you are having a great time, and without much ado, let's quickly talk about today's question. Today's question is minimum number of arrows to burst balloon. Here in this question we are given n balloons placed on xy plane, and each element of this array represents the x starting coordinate of the balloon and x ending coordinate of the balloon. In short, the balloon lies on the horizontal x-axis and each element signifies the stretch of each balloon. What we are doing in this question, we are shooting arrows and we need to identify the minimum number of arrows that must be shot in order to burst all the balloons. So I'll be walking you through the example in the presentation that I have created for this, and there we will discuss the algorithm to go about it. I know I'm already a bit late today, so without much ado, let's quickly talk about the algorithm by the PPT that I have created. Minimum number of arrows to burst balloon, lead code 452. It's a medium level question on lead code. However, I would like to rate this question in easy category. So let's try and understand the algorithm by few test cases that I have written, and if you are able to follow up in these test cases, the algorithm is pretty simple and straightforward. In the first case, we have two balloons. The first one lies in the range of 1, 10 and the other one lies within the range of 18, 20 as depicted here, one in green and other one in red. So how are you gonna burst these two balloons up? How many arrows would be needed for it? The first one comes like this, the other one comes like this. In totality, how many arrows have we used? Two arrows we have used. Let's try and understand the most interesting test case where the first balloon lies within the range of 10, 1, 10 and the other one is in the range of 8, 20. So if I ask you guys, where will you shoot the arrow? You will shoot the arrow in the range of 8 up till 10. This particular one where have I highlighted. If an arrow goes through this range, then a single arrow will be needed in order to burst both of them together. And our work is done. If you have analyzed these two test cases, you have found out the algorithm. How? Let's try and use the maximum out of these two test cases and let's build our algo. So the first and the foremost thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring in some ordering into picture. And how will I bringing ordering into my input test data? I have to sort this up. Now comes the question, on which parameter will you sort this up? On the basis of x start coordinate or xy coordinate? X end coordinate. So I'll be using x end coordinate. Why specifically x end coordinate? Because I want to identify whether the next upcoming balloon overlaps with the existing balloon or not. If it does overlap, then a single arrow will be needed. If it doesn't overlap, then two separate arrows would be needed for bursting both the individual balloons separately. So the problem reduces to if we are able to identify overlap between two different balloons. So let's sort those up on the basis of x and coordinate, and this is the sorted data. We have 1, 6, 2, 8, 7, 12, 10, 16. And let me just plot those up on x-axis. We have 1, 6, we have 2, 8, we have 7, 12. So let's write 7, let's write 12 here. And next one is 10, 16. And now let's shoot the arrows and burst balloons. Let me just change the color of pen. Let's get started. I'll create a variable that will signify the reach of my current balloon. So if a balloon lies within, if the next upcoming balloon lies within the reach of the current balloon, then a single arrow will be needed for that purpose. And let's define the number of arrows that are actually needed for bursting out all balloons. So let me just write it here, and by default, let's initialize it to 1. And let's update the reach equal to the starting end terminal of my first balloon, which is nothing but 6. Let's start the iteration. The next element that comes is 2, 8. What I'm going to do, I'll compare 2 with my reach variable. Is 2 lower than my reach variable? Is this element lower than my reach variable? It does. That means we have found out an overlapping case. Awesome. A single arrow will serve the purpose here. And we have already used one arrow for bursting this first balloon that lies within the range of 1,6, and using the same arrow we can burst the second balloon as well. So what I'm gonna do, I'll skip this I'll burst this balloon and I'll skip this entry. So both the balloons have been bursted and we have used a single arrow for this purpose. Let's proceed ahead. Next element that we see is 7,12. What I'm gonna do, I'll use a new arrow for bursting a balloon up till the range of 12, and I'll increment my range from 6 to 12. And let's proceed ahead. Next entry that I see is 10,16. So 10 definitely lies within the reach of my previous balloon. That means again I'll shoot the arrow not from here but somewhere between 10 to 12, so that both the balloons can be bursted in a single shot, as a result of which the answer gets updated to 2. Pretty simple and straightforward. We are done with bursting out these two balloons as well. And the total number of arrows that we have used here is 2. Now let's look at the coding section where we'll conclude the approach. The first and the foremost thing that I've done here is to sort the elements up on the basis of x end coordinate, as I talked about in the presentation. I have created a variable arrow that will signify the minimum number of arrows needed to burst all the balloons up. I have created a variable reach that points to the first balloon x end coordinate. And let's start the iteration from the first index up till points dot length. If my starting index of the ith balloon happens to be outside the reach of my previous balloon, what I'm gonna do, I have to spend a new arrow in order to burst my current balloon. Also, I'll update my reach to the ending terminal of my current balloon. Otherwise, what I'm gonna do, I'll skip this balloon because that can be covered by the previous reach, and I'll not use any new arrow for this purpose. Once I'm done with this, I'll simply return the count that is stored over here. So let's try this up. There is a very interesting test case that I want to highlight. So we usually write this expression while we are sorting the input array on the basis of the first index, and the test case that I failed is very interesting as well. So let me just use this test case to fix this equation. This is causing us trouble. So when we are comparing the second index of my second entry with the second index of my first entry, we are doing it on the basis of x end coordinate. And if I subtract this value from this value, it goes beyond the integer range. So what should I do? I should update this equation to integer.compare Let's try this up. Accepted. The time complexity of this approach is order of n log n, and the space complexity is constant. We are not using any extra space for solving this up. Now comes the interesting portion. You'll ask me, how is this actually operating in the backend? So I have looked at its code. I have also looked at it at the very first time, and it's a simple method provided by Java that is doing the comparison. It's static in nature. It compares two values, and on the basis of that comparison, it returns the result. Here the difference comes. Why? Because we are doing a comparison operator rather than a subtraction operator. Subtraction can lead to overflow and underflow conditions, whereas the greater than or less than comparison operators will never lead to such anomalies. I hope you liked this tip, and if you did, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for viewing it. Have a great day ahead and stay tuned for more updates from Coding Decoded. I'll see you tomorrow with another fresh question, but till then, goodbye.